This is humility and pride. When someone is humble or shows humility, they don't think of themselves as more important than other people, and definitely not more important than God. Humble people recognize that everything they have and everything they can do is because of God, and they allow people to help them instead of thinking they can do everything for themselves. When someone is proud or prideful, it's basically the opposite of humility. Prideful people consider themselves better than others. They will reject help because they don't want people to think they can't do it themselves. They will often take credit for their success instead of giving the credit to God, who makes all things possible. Let's see what humility and pride look like in action. Pride is up to bat next. Their eyes are on the ball. Here comes the pitch. Oh, that's a strike. Pride looks pretty frustrated. Here comes the hitting coach to give a few pointers. It seems that pride doesn't think they need any help and just wants to keep doing it their own way. It's humility's turn at bat. They seem confident and laser focused. Here comes the pitch. Ooh, that's a strike. Humility looks pretty frustrated. Here comes the hitting coach to give a few pointers. Humility seems to have taken the coach's advice without being stubborn and has set themselves up for success. Oh no! That person just tripped and all their stuff spilled on the ground. What might pride look like in this situation? Oh dear. Pride was not interested in helping someone else. I mean, it's not like it was their mess anyway, right? Oh no! That person just tripped and all their stuff spilled on the ground. What might humility look like in this situation? Well done! Helping other people is a great way to be humble. What an incredible race it was! Pride came in first place and they waste no time in letting everyone know by pointing to themselves and saying things like, "I'm the best," and "No one is as fast as me." Another day, another race! This time humility won. Humility is excited about winning, but whenever someone tells them good job, they point up, as if pointing to God, and say, "Thank you for the compliment. God made it possible." Or, "God has blessed me with this win today." People can tell that humility is not bragging or prideful. Humility recognizes where their power and ability comes from. So, what's it going to be for you? Will you choose to show humility or pride in your life? The choice is yours.
Hey you guys, you are in for a treat because I am your teacher today. We are going to be talking about being humble, which is the same as having humility. And let me tell you, I am the best at teaching humility. Seriously, you will never meet anyone who is more humble and gifted in teaching than me. If you look up words that mean the same as humility, you will find my name first on the list. Yeah, it's not easy being humble, but I mean, someone has to be the best at it, am I right? Okay. Clearly, I was not demonstrating being humble just now. But I was trying to make a point and to see if you would recognize someone who is prideful and not humble. I don't actually think that I'm the best teacher of humility that has ever existed. But I am super excited to be sharing with you about how we can all be humble the way that God teaches us to be in the Bible. Being humble is definitely not easy. Since the moment Adam and Eve sinned in the Garden of Eden, people have struggled with being prideful. And that's why God gives us important truth in the Bible to teach us how to live our lives with humility instead. Being humble is more than just not bragging about ourselves or thinking we're better than someone else. One way to look at being humble is recognizing that we are completely dependent on God. We need Him. And without Him, we wouldn't be who we are or have what we have. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon didn't love or obey the one true God, and as we'll find out, he struggled with pride as well. You see, King Nebuchadnezzar was living the good life in his palace. Things were going well, and his kingdom had become big and strong. The king proudly thought that everything he had was the result of his own abilities and the work he had put into building the kingdom. One night, he had a strange dream, and he called in Daniel to explain what the dream meant. Daniel explained that King Nebuchadnezzar had indeed grown strong and great, and his rule reached to the ends of the earth. Because of his pride and failure to see that all good things come from God, the king would be separated from people. He would live with the wild animals and eat grass like a cow for a period of time. He would do this until he had learned that only God rules over everything, and that God is the one who gave the kingdom and power to Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel finished by warning the king that he should stop sinning and do what is right. So, of course, King Nebuchadnezzar took Daniel's advice and started being more humble, right? Wrong. All the things that Daniel said would happen to Nebuchadnezzar did actually happen. A year after Daniel interpreted the dream, the king was walking on the roof of his palace. He looked out across the city and said, "Look at this great city of Babylon! By my own mighty power, I've built this beautiful city as my home to show how amazing I am." Does that sound like King Nebuchadnezzar had learned to be humble? No. Within that same hour, the punishment that Daniel had described from the dream came true. Nebuchadnezzar was separated from other people. He ate grass like a cow. His hair became as long as eagle's feathers, and his nails were like the claws of birds. But there's a happy ending. After a period of time, Nebuchadnezzar looked up to heaven. His sanity returned, and he praised and worshiped the one true God. Then he got to be the king again. King Nebuchadnezzar had these final words to say: "I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and honor the King of heaven. He does nothing wrong, and he is able to humble the proud." In today's true story, King Nebuchadnezzar had to go through what was probably a long time of literally living like a wild animal and being unable to lead the kingdom. Why? Because he made the mistake of not recognizing where his power, kingdom, and wealth came from. The good news is that Nebuchadnezzar eventually learned how to be humble and give the credit to God. Remember, one way to be humble is to recognize that we are completely dependent on God. We need him, and without him, we wouldn't be who we are or have what we have. Take a look at what God wants us to know about being humble. Humble yourselves before the Lord. James 4:10. Always be humble and gentle, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Ephesians 4:2. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people, and don't think you know it all. Romans 12:16. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Philippians 2:3. When we think and act like we're better than other people, it can lead to us losing out on good friends and opportunities, and even sinning because we're not giving God the credit he deserves. Truth is, there are times in our lives when we may find ourselves bragging or being overconfident, much like King Nebuchadnezzar. So, instead of trying to make people believe you are the best at something, be humble and give God the credit instead. Like when you paint an amazing picture and people are telling you how good you are. Let them know that you believe you can paint so well because God gave you the ability. Or when you help your team win a game, make sure people know that you believe God gave you any talent you have and that it was a team effort. Let's say that bottom line together. Be humble. The fact is, God may have blessed you with an amazing skill or talent or cool things. So humbly thank him for the way he has blessed you instead of pridefully bragging about your own greatness. We are nothing without God, and remembering that is a good way to stay humble. See you guys.